Hey, it's Phil coming at you again, man. Thanks for hanging out with me, man. Really appreciating that. Yeah, definitely. Hey, let's finish up that pump, right? This will be the third video in our pump series. This time we're going to install a bigger boost valve, really boost those pressures up. This way we don't get bad things happening. We'll also increase our, the reverse valve. It helps with when you put the gear in low 1 or low 2, right? It'll boost those pressures up as well. We're gonna put a new bushing in. I'll show you a little trick to make sure that it doesn't push out like a previous one does. If you don't have a 690 series pump, you're probably gonna have that bushing popping out unless you're doing our little trick. We'll also add a seal retainer, but there's a trick to installing it. I'll show you. Normally if you put a seal retainer in, you can pop it out with your finger. Not cool, but we'll show you how to make a little modification so it ain't coming off, which means your seal ain't coming off, and ain't a word, but we're not going to be leaking fluid, so it's going to be a really good thing. We'll take our stator support, drill out the hole in there too. I'll show you the right size. This way we're getting some lube coming back to our stator support washer, right? The plastic one there. I'll show you all that stuff, man. It's going to be great, and then we're going to put it together, and we're going to be good to go. So hang out, yeah, look over my shoulder, man. It's going to be good stuff. And I put the stator support back onto the arbor press. We're just going to go ahead and press out this pin. Go ahead and bring our press down. Find our point. Hold this way so it doesn't go snapping. And you can see. Press should come right out. Pin. I'm going to take our stator support pin. There's a hole inside there, and we're going to enlarge that to 0.045 inches. That's going to help us flow more lubricating oil. This is the washer. You can see the 3 screw holes that our stator support fits through, and here's the hole where that pin goes through. So by enlarging the hole in that stator support pin, we can get more lubricating oil coming back, and it's going to lubricate this washer and surface better. Again, this is selective. That's the one that came out of the original transmission, and you can see with the 3 circles on the outside, it kind of looks like Mickey Mouse. Yeah, sure, kind of. To enlarge that hole, we're just going to use our number 57 drill bit. 57, again, this is just a cheap Harbor Freight set. Basically what you want is numbered drill bits. This one goes through size 1 to 60. Actually, number 57 is the equivalent of 0.043, which will get us close enough. So what we're going to do is chuck it into our drill press, like so. There you can see the pin, and there's our drill bit, and we'll go ahead and drill out that hole. There's a better angle of the hole inside the bottom of our pin. Take your air gun, go ahead and blow any crap that's in there out. Of course, we don't want anything clogging in there. And you can see the hole is larger. And if we take our number 57 drill bit, she goes through nice. So again, we should have nice lubrication for our washer. Hey, how about taking a second, like and subscribe, huh? Come on, show some love. Now take your stator support and look for the pin hole. Take our stator support pin, drop it in the hole, and what we're going to want to do is press it so that it fits into that hole. So we'll do that next. We'll use an arbor press I guess you could beat it with a hammer if you wanted to, but again, if you want to do it the right way, use a press, always recommended. Put your pin inside of there. And just go ahead and push it down. And make sure she's all the way in there. And of course she is. And nice and straight. Another thing to note on our stator support is the splines right here. You can see this is the stock one, the one that we're actually replacing. Notice how it's shiny on the splines. They have a tendency to strip out. This is the one we're replacing it with. These have hardened splines. You could see it's kind of a black color versus a silver color. Again, this is our new one, and this is our factory one. So again, the factory ones were not hardened. I should say the ones we're using, it wasn't hardened. Maybe they did it in later years, I don't know. But this one right here, the one that we're replacing it with, is a hardened one. So again, your splines on the top will not wear away. So again, you definitely want to do that 100% of the time. Again, it's cheap insurance. Go ahead and press your stator support in as well. Then we got our pump stator half fastened into the vise. Notice we have rubber grips on the bottom holding our stator support so we're not scratching it. Now what we want to do is install our 3 bolts into our holes. And remember, our factory setup came with these Torx heads, where we used the T27 to get them out. Not a fan of using the Torx. What I'm going to do is convert to hex heads. And again, just make sure if you do the same thing that the head is small so that it's the same size as the Torx originally was, because we want it again to go into the washer and not cause a collision. I'm going to use some red Loctite on these, number 271. Again, this will hold these in place so that these screws won't back out on us. Again, just a little bit is plenty. Let's throw it in the hole. Even that's too much. Tighten them down. Once we get them there, go ahead and use a small torque wrench. I'm going to go to 100 inch-pounds to give them the proper torque. Proper torque is 7 to 10 foot-pounds. Do your conversion, it comes out midway. I think you're safe if you use 100 inch-pounds. Just go ahead and torque those down. There we go, good as new. So when you install this, you want the hole onto the pin, right, your hole onto your pin. So it mounts with these legs, like so. And you can see there's plenty of clearance still for our bolts. So all is well. Hey, how about taking a second, like and subscribe, huh? Come on, show some love. Our pressure regulator valve assembly is going to go into this end over here. And our converter clutch valve assembly is going to go here. This is where our filter goes, of course. And if we look on the other side, here we have our pressure relief ball and spring are going to go into that end. Now, we're going to replace these with our shift kit. So the entire valve train here that we had taken out, our pressure, our boost pressure valve train, we're going to replace the entire thing. In our shift kits, or our shift recalibration kit, we have this spring and valve, and of course we have these two valves, much larger than the stock ones, and the bushings that they fit in. Here we can see the standard sizes. This right here, our reverse boost valve. See, it's about, what, 0.368 on that side, and 0.269 on this side. That's our stock reverse boost valve. And of course our replacement is going to be much larger. Let's see, 0.399. And of course on this side it's a 2955, so about 296. And our boost valve, you can see right away, it's much smaller. It's tiny. That's what, a 366. And on this side, yep, 366. And you can see the replacement is much larger. Here we're looking at a 500. And these right here are simply the bushings. Obviously it's going to be bigger so that the new parts can fit into the holes. That's the reason why the size is, of course, larger. Also have a different spring. Replacement one, factory one. Factory one's a little bit longer. The replacement one's a little bit shorter and has, looks like almost the same wire gauge. And here's the valves. You can see they're different. This one being the factory, this one being the replacement. All right, and here we are with our configuration laid out here. You can see our pressure regulator valve here, this configuration. What you want to do is put your spring on, and notice your spring fits over this piece right here and pushes up against the railing, I guess you can say. So what you want to do is push your spring over the end onto your railing. Then of course we have our reverse boost valve and the bushing. Fits in like so. Make sure it comes right through the hole on the end here. Get her lined up. There we go. We'll put her in. This part coming through. Next up we have our boost valve, and you want this little knobby going inside. Knobby, that's the technical term. It's probably a good idea to lube these up. Some transmission fluid in there. There's a good. And of course, finally, we'll have it assembled like this. And that goes into this large hole up here. Nice idea is to just take a ketchup dispenser or whatever, mustard dispenser, just from the dollar store, and go ahead and put your transmission fluid in there. Makes an easy dispenser. By the way, everybody has their choice. I'm just using Dexron 6. Dexron 6. Let's go ahead and squirt some lube down there. And again, the first thing in is your valve. Go ahead and lube that up. Make sure it goes all the way in. Got a spring valve assembly in there. Next up, what we want to do is take our reverse boost valve assembly. And you're going to want to put that in right on top. Find that bore. And then the other valve, the boost valve, goes in behind it. Again, make sure everything's nice and lubed up. Nothing dry. Dry is bad. Once you get it pressed down, there's a couple different ways to do this. Of course, don't let the spring pressure come out too much. Take your snap ring pliers, lined on your snap ring, get her all the way down there. And you want to make sure that the snap ring is all the way in. As you can see, in this case, it is. So our boost valve is installed. Next, we have our converter clutch valve assembly. They're sitting right over here, of course, as we took them out previously. No replacements in this. Make sure they're cleaned up nice. And of course, lube them up really good. And they, of course, fit in the hole all the way back here, right? It's the only one they're going to go into. Again, make sure they're lubed up nice. And of course, the hole itself. Make sure she's got good lube in there. Spring fits on the end. Again, this is a dual spring. Fit up our spring assembly. Sure everything works good. Then we'll take our retainer, put it onto the end, and of course we have our last retaining ring. Squeeze that. And again, we'll drop it into our hole. Again, we want to put it into the hole. And again, there should be play. Next up, we want to put our pressure relief spring into the hole. You could see that's the hole right there that she fits in. There's a little check ball. It goes all the way down the bottom of the hole there, as you can see. And then we put the spring and we put the pin on top of that. So what you want to do, of course, never do anything dry. Go ahead and lube it up. Get some fluid down there. Take your check ball, drop her down the hole, make sure she's in there. And then you want to take your spring, looks like this one, follow it up. And there's a pin. Remember the pin that we took out, kind of a rivet looking thing. Notice on this side, right, the side with the stator support, there's an indent in there. That of course is where the head of the pin is going to seat. So you don't want to put it in from the other direction. You want to put it in from this direction. And there's a bunch of different ways, I guess you can say, of doing this. I have luck. Either I use a chisel like this, or you could use a 1/4 inch screwdriver like this one, just a flathead. I'm going to use the chisel. And what I like to do is put it against my fat stomach here. And what you want to do is use the leverage of your body, right? So if we put it here on the spring, that's going to let us push it in. And all I'm doing, you can see right here, is using my fat stomach. And just use that to push it in. Use your body as leverage. And that seems to work out pretty good. Then, of course, push your pin down. And keep working it until you get it all the way down. But that's the easiest way. I don't know if there's an easy way, but that's what I find the easiest way. And usually what I do is I'll turn it around. And again, I'll keep the direction going. Maybe change over to the... There we go. And then just work it in until you're all the way in the hole. Once you get it, straighten out your spring. And we should be good to go. Some people will put a washer in here like this, but wider, so that it fits all the way in. And what that does is sometimes the end of the spring, right, the last loop of the spring, if you will, sometimes that'll break, and then your pressure will be less here. So your relief will come on too early, and you won't get good pressure buildup. So some people will put a washer in there, just so that the spring doesn't rest against the pin. I'm not going to do that, but again, I thought I'd let you know that, because some builders do that. Hey, how about taking a second, like and subscribe, huh? Come on, show some love. The stator support half is done, so let's move on to the pump side of the pump. All right, let's go ahead and get our bushing in first. Remember we had our bushing driver set that we were using. Again, I just got this on eBay. It's very convenient. And of course, here's our pump half. Want to get the bushing seated down in there. And here's our bushing, of course. This particular hole that we're going to drive through, I'm going to use the 50 millimeter. Fits right in there. That's where we want to stop driving. And we'll use the 44, because the 44 is almost the exact measurement of the inside of the bushing. And we'll go ahead and assemble our tool. Take our screw off. And again, that's a very convenient to make your own bushing drivers. I guess you could use sockets or something along those lines if that's what you got. roll with what you got, of course. And that fits in there like a glove. And we could use that to push it down. Now, what I also like to do, some people use the red Loctite. I like to use the green. Green Loctite is good for, bearings and that kind of stuff, tough fittings. We use the red, remember before when we put the stator support bolts in, as well as the pin. It's better suited for that. But the green is good for bearings and that kind of thing. I like to use the stick also. The stick is good because it, when we apply it to our bushing, we're going to apply it to the outside, and it's not going to be all runny and leak out as well. So that's a definite advantage to using the stick. Roll it up. And this is Teflon, I guess, coated bushing. It's definitely one of the better ones to use. And what I'll do is I'll just apply it to the outside. Again, you can see it doesn't run off, so it's very useful to use. Whereas if you're using a liquid, it's going to run off on the side. And with this, again, even a little bit is plenty. So as you can see, I probably used too much, to be quite honest. So I'll just go ahead and roll it around. Again, try not to get it on the Teflon surface itself. Just rolling it around. And again, a little bit is plenty. Okay, now what we're going to do is bring this over to the arbor press and press her in. Go ahead and press her in there. Again, you want to give it some force. And we'll get her in. And you want to make sure she's pressed all the way in. Again, looking inside, nice press in, and of course compare it to the other side as well. So it's a nice press fit. Going to put our pump half together. Here's the original 7 vanes. As you can see, mine are in pretty garbagey shape. Again, mine had some water in it, that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and replace the vanes along with the slide O-ring and the pump O-ring. And it also had double springs for the slide. We're going to go ahead and replace those with some from our shift kit. And of course, our old Teflon and our old pin seal. We'll go ahead and get rid of those. We will, however, use the pin as well as the very small spring. We'll use those from our stock setup as they are fine. Also, our guide plate. It's old, it's flimsy, it's really cheap to replace. It's plastic. Just do yourself a favor and replace it. As we know from previously, the pump rings, these often break. It's a very weak point in our pump, and these are what actually kills the pump, right? It'll cause the scoring, that kind of thing. Even if yours are okay, like mine are, get rid of them without a doubt. Use some hardened ones. This way they're not going to crack and they're not going to dump and basically kill your pump by breaking and scratching it up. So again, this is mandatory, right? Always use the hardened pump rings. Next up, take your seal, and what we want to do is drive it onto here. We're going to use a seal retainer, and I'll show you how to modify that a little bit later. But what we want to do is press this on there. If you don't have the right size driver, you could use the old Stator support that we took off before. It actually fits on there nicely, and we could press it that way. Or if you have the proper driver, you could press it with the driver as well. Some people put Loctite on here. I usually don't because, again, because we're putting the seal retainer on. Good as new. The next thing we'll take is our seal retainer. And I think this one comes off a 700 R4 or 4L60. I'm not sure. One of those models. Anyway, they're common. You can buy them anywhere. What we're going to do is put it on top of the seal that's going to retain it. The important thing is on the side, there are bumps on the side. These are low ones. This, of course, is a high one. So you don't want to hit that high one. And there's another high one over there. Right? You don't want this piece over here to hit that because obviously it's not going to press all the way down. So what you want to do is align it so that they don't hit. For example, if we were to align it like so, that would be bad because we'd hit that one. All right, so rotate it over. For example, right like so. Place it down. And now notice on the bottoms here, you can see there's a little tang that's sticking in there. Hopefully you can see that on our camera. And right here, on each of them, on all four sides, is that little tang. And what that tang does is grabs the corners of our pump body, and that's what holds it in there. And watch what happens if we push it down, give it a little tap. And so we want to make sure that it's down and it's seated all the way around. Right, as you can see it is. What I like to do is just take a little Sharpie and mark where those pieces are. There's one there. One there. One there. Just noting where the center is. And what we're going to do is make a little etch inside there. But notice how easily this thing's going to pop off. See, I hardly used any effort whatsoever. And it just pops right off. So you really have to wonder how much it's retaining. But anyway, now what we have is a mark. And you can see we've scratched exactly where we're gripping. So now what we're going to do is just make a little slit there. And I'll show you how to do that next. And just take a little file, a very little file, and you can see where the marks are. Right, here's an example of where the mark is. And what I'll do is go where that little tab was, and I'll just try and take out like an indentation right there. So I'll just go back and forth with our file. And what I'm trying to do is give that retainer something to bite onto. And again, what I did was just make a little groove here. Again, I'm just trying to give it something to bite into. I'm just using a little triangle file and just trying to cut a straight line. You don't have to go real deep by any means. You can see it's just a little bit. You can see it right here. And again, it just kind of catches the fingernail. And what I'll do is do that on all 4 corners. And by the way, I'm just using a needle file. I think this is like an old Harbor Freight set or something. Probably worth like $1 maybe, if that. And I just used the trial one out of the kit. So again, just a very small needle file in a triangle shape. Does what it does. Of course, this is an aluminum housing, so it's very easy to file. Now, if we tap our retainer back on, you should see that it's much more firm than it was before as far as the grip goes. Make sure you're lined up as you were before. Now you can see, believe it or not, I'm putting force on that. I don't know if you could tell, but we've got it edged right in there. And now that is not going to come off unless we got a screwdriver or something and really wanted to pry it off. So again, that's the best way to use the seal retainer to actually help in retaining the seal.